Let's review two products by AndyCine that they have created for the Atomos Ninja 5. One of them is a Kochu Mount, which is the one that you see here, and the other one is called the AndyCine Lunchbox Magnesium M-SATA case, which is the one here. So pretty much what you would do is get an M-SATA drive, plug it in, and there is an adapter that converts it into a SATA, and you can use this instead of the Master Caddy or the other drive that you may use on a system. So let's have a look at this and see what I think about them. This is ArtIsRight. Before we start, subscribe if you're new and hit on the bell icon so you'll be notified every time I upload cool new videos like this. If you're already using Ninja 5 or you're looking to add one to your workflow, it is a fantastic recording device that you can use in the field or in the studio as I'm using now. Recently, Atomos have required that users register the device on their website to download new firmwares, activate some codecs that ship with the device, and also purchase aftermarket codecs that wasn't shipped with the device. I have a lot of thoughts about this. I'll share this with you in a separate video. But for now, let's have a look at AndyCine accessories that they have sent to me to do a review for you guys. Let's start out with the Kochu Mount. I really like this Kochu Mount compared to the options of the things that I've been using before. For example, these ball heads. Now, certainly what you can do on your Atomos device is put a little clip there and do a quick release thing and mount a quick release on here. But if you don't want to do that, well, the only option that you have is to pretty much use a ball head like so, and you would be twisting either the Atomos device or the ball head itself to mount it on to the ball head, which I think this is not the best way to mount and dismount the device is by twisting it around. So I find that rather interesting. And I never really thought that this is a solution that works well, which is why I have the quick release. But now what we have is a few more options from AndyCine. And this is specifically designed for the Ninja 5. So you can see there on the bottom that it has the screw and also the thread to lock the device in. So pretty much it doesn't twist on there, which is really awesome. And the other nice thing about this is that you line it up and you simply just start to twist that plate there and it just locks in, just like so. You don't have to twist the device around or anything like that. For instance, this is my Panasonic S1 with a 7200. I have a 24 to, I think, like 105 as well that I use. But this can go onto the cage. For example, if you have a cage like so, it can go onto here. I mean, if you have a cage, sometimes you have these custom mount, but if you don't want to get all these custom mount, this is a really quick and easy way to get a mount for the monitor on here. So you can see that this works really well. I'm going to tighten this down a little bit. You can rotate this around. You can change the angle of this, which I think works really well. So these are some of the motions that it can do. Now, the other thing too is that if you don't have a cage, this can certainly go on top of the hot shoe. I will tell you right now that on the Panasonic S1, they have designed their hot shoe to be really tight. I mean, it's not just only this accessory. I can try to put other accessories on their hot shoe and it doesn't go in really well, like the generic one. They're not made by Panasonic, so that's an interesting thing. But I will tell you that this one will slide onto the Nikon Z7, the Nikon D850, or any of the other camera brands without any problem. It's just a little tight on the Panasonic S1, so just FYI there and something to keep in mind. All right, that being said, let's move on and talk about the next accessory that I think is very interesting. And the reason why I'm doing this interview, because this gives us Atomos user another option to record to a different type of SSD. So let's have a look at this now. This is what AndyCine call their Lunchbox. It's made out of magnesium alloy. It is an M-SATA to full SATA adapter. And to give you some background about this, pretty much with the Atomos recorder, Ninja 5, or any other recorder for that matter, it uses a SATA connection right here. It uses a full SATA, and that's a nice thing about it. It's generically available, and you can get these drive from Amazon for a pretty decent price. For instance, I have a Samsung SSD in here, and this is what they call their Master Caddy. So you can get these plastic shell that allows you to slide any type of SSD, put it in the case, screw it in, and just pretty much slide it in like so. For like, I think 5 for 35 bucks, which is not too bad. But the thing about this is that when you mount a regular 3.5-inch SSD, it kind of sticks out on the side there. So if you don't want something that sticks out, there are a few other options. Now, before we go to the other option entirely, I also want to share with you that G Drive does make a Master Caddy as well. So if you don't want to use your own SSD, you can certainly buy one that's pre-manufactured that has a drive on the inside already and slide it in, but it will still stick out on the side of the device, especially in the Ninja 5, which is much smaller. The other option that we have is the Angel Bird. I like the Angel Bird because this is really built really well. It's aluminum or whatever type of metal this is. It is super solid. I think it is aluminum or magnesium. And pretty much this slides in. It lines up with the device flush, as you can see here. There's no part sticking out. The only problem with Angelbird device is that this is really expensive. And it's even more expensive, I think, than the Master Caddy from G-Drive. So what other options do we have? Well, you can go back to the Master Caddy, the case itself, and put in your own SSD, which, by the way, these cases are all really plastic. And now we have another option, and that is the Lunchbox from AndyCine. So I'm going to put this together and run a test on this. I also happen to have a mSATA drive just sitting out, so because I do a lot of computer tech stuff as well, so I have these just hanging around, which is really nice. And pretty much what comes in the package here is the mSATA to SATA board. You have the magnesium alloy case. You have 2 screws to mount this onto the drive itself, and these that are pretty much like the hex screw to tie this down to the case. And also, one more thing that they also add on to here is the thermal pad, which you're definitely going to need to mount these devices on here. And in the box, it didn't come with any instruction, but you can go to their website and get an idea of how to put this together. Or if you're fairly tech savvy, it's fairly easy to just piece all the things together and just really assemble this yourself. The one thing I will tell you is that mSATA, these little drive things, are on the way out, and they're not that easy to find, even on Amazon brand new. So your option and your best way to get this is either through eBay. You can look them up. The price of them are now kind of going up a little bit, so they're more expensive than the faster M.2 NVMe SSD, which is something that I have somewhat of an issue with. I wish I found this a little bit sooner, but nonetheless, this can definitely work. Now, on their website, what they have suggested that a lot of users do is to get either a Samsung T5, and I will also tell you that a Samsung T3 will work as well. So it's the one with the pretty much the metal aluminum on top here, the plastic on the bottom, or you can also get the Samsung T5, which is an all aluminum enclosure, and I'll put this on the camera right now. And you can certainly use these by taking it apart and take out the mSATA on the inside. These are probably going to be the most sensible solution in getting a mSATA drive at a really good price, because you can still buy these new at a fairly good price, or you can certainly look at the used market. People are selling these out in pretty large quantity out there. It's not that hard to find, 1 or 2 terabytes, and you can get a really great price on them. The only thing is that you're taking this apart and you are definitely awarding the warranty, but if you're buying used anyway, it doesn't matter. All right. But I have a drive laying around, so this is good for me. So let's have a look at how we put this together. It doesn't tell you where to put the heat spreader, so I am going to guess that we're going to put one on top and one on the bottom of the board. And we may have to cut one up because the instruction doesn't really tell you anything. However, when I try to mount this on here like so, I can see clearly that there are these studs that comes up and there's a gap on the bottom. So that gap should be enough for one of these pads to go in. So what we're going to do is, let's cut this like about in half and then a little bit more. I'll put this together. So the primary thing you want to really cool down on these mSATA is not the NAND itself, but more so the controller chip, which is that chip right there. So if you can keep that at a good temperature, that's going to help out a lot. The NAND does get hot. I mean, the whole thing does get hot in general, but you generally want to control certain components from getting too hot or too overheated. And that's the reason why we have these heat spreader, and that's going to do a pretty good job with just dissipating heat from the controller itself and also from the NAND flash. That drive, okay, it works perfectly. Let's take the screws and let's screw them in. And for this, I'll be using my iFixit kit that I always use for all these videos, these putting things together. So we'll do that. And I think the way how this goes into the enclosure is, nope, wrong way. It goes in this way. So I think what we have to do with this is use these 2 big sheets to pretty much, spread the heat for both of these components. So I'm just going to put them on here and let's see if that fits and if it's designed that way. Because again, they don't tell you where you should be putting these heat spreader thing, but I'm going to do it for the whole board anyway, and let's see if that works. All right, I'm going to put that down. That goes in there like so. And just based on this alone, I think we just need to put in 1 on the other side because there's not a lot on this side right here. It's just pretty much the back plane. There's no like metal touching or contacts or anything like that. And we'll sandwich this on. using their screws, and they sent you 5 of these. They also sent you a little hex wrench, but what I'm going to do here is rather than using that, I'll use my iFixit tool. Like so, and then we're going to see how this fit in the Atomos and if it would power on and see the drive and everything. So let's have a look in just a moment. So there we have it assembled. This is going to do a really good job dissipating heat. So let's bring the Atomos out, and I have a huge battery here that I'm going to use to power up the Atomos. We'll slide this in. So this pretty much goes in right underneath the railing, and if you put in the heatsink properly, this should go in right now, and it seems to work really well. And if you want to pull it out, you just wrap your hand on these little screws. That's why they designed it protruding, which I think is interesting. But this has a lot of room on the device, and it's also a magnesium, so it's going to do a pretty good job dissipating heat. Let's turn on the Atomos and see what happens. Ah, perfect. It does see the media. It doesn't see any capacity right now, so we'll just quickly do a format. So now that we have formatted this device, you can see that the Atomos Ninja 5 does see it as a 512 capacity one. It is a light-on mSATA drive. The thing is that you can find a light-on drive online new still, but you can't really find the Samsung one anymore. So just something to keep in mind there. And I didn't have any doubt that mSATA or these connection will work or not, just because if it's the bad mSATA, then obviously it wouldn't work. But for the most part, I don't really see a lot of air happening with these devices. And again, this, like I said, I really like the design and the heat dissipation. You can just simply remove it like so. And this is pretty much even smaller than the Angelbird, especially when you compare them that way. And you can see there, it's pretty much like smaller than an Angelbird, as you can see, and this pretty much fits in with the device. So if you have a lot of mSATA laying around, or if you want to have a really sensible storage solution, if you can find mSATA for cheap, I think this is a really great solution, rather than having these like plastic enclosure that will stick out from the side of the device like what you're seeing right now. So just something to think about there. There's different ways to approach the situation, but you do have a lot of options. So anyway, I hope that you find this helpful. If you have any questions or comments, leave them below. Give this a like, subscribe if you're new, and until next time, in art we trust.